it's 5 months later, and do you kind of stand by what you said?
Yeah, I don't back off of it whatsoever. I mean, I have no problem. I understand recruiting, okay? You come on as a new staff, you're going to make phone calls, you're going to find out if guys are interested. Look, I've been in this a long time. I understand how it works. My issue is with guys that had been committed to us for a long time, expressed that they were not interested, yet the phone calls kept coming. That was my issue. Now look, that's my opinion, and a lot of people looked at that opinion and said, who is he? What do we care what he says? And that's their right. They have that opinion, but I don't back away from what I said. I mean, I have no issue with the initial contact being made. Hey, would you be interested? Yeah, I might be. Okay. But when a guy in our recruiting class comes to me and says, Coach, I've told them 4 times, and the calls just keep coming, then, yeah, I have a little bit of a problem with that.
Do you talk to anybody on that staff or reach out to them?
I talk to Coach Harsin, but I mean, and look, I have no problem with them being upset. And frankly, they're going to look at me and say, "Who cares what he says?" I mean, they beat us once in 10 years, and you know what? That's fact. I at one point somebody asked me, do you recruit against Boise a lot? I said, not as much as you'd think, because the admission standards are different, and then everybody went bananas about that. That was not an opinion. That was a fact. That was later backed up. And frankly, there are cases that I'm jealous that they have that luxury that I don't. That there are some guys that they can recruit that frankly we cannot. So, I mean, I'm sorry that it rankles people, and I'm not being disrespectful. I'm simply, the 2 things I talked about were facts. I did not mean to give the impression that Boise State was in a position where they had to run down our commitment list, that's where they were at. That was not my intent. My intent was that there were, 1 or 2 cases where a guy had said, hey, I'm not interested, and the phone calls kept coming. Look, that's college football. It is what it is.
I think you had said that they were, were running down your commit list, just contacting guys.
The amount of guys that were on our commit list that got a call of, hey, would you be interested, was pretty high. Now, there were a couple instances where there were a bunch of calls. And like I said, I don't begrudge going down the, if you got an interest in a guy and you want to just find out, hey, we're a new staff, would you be interested? I get that. I'm okay with that. It was the 1 or 2 cases where guys were like, hey, I've told him, and the phone calls keep coming. Mm-hmm. But hey, again, who cares? It's recruiting. It's not that big a deal.
You worked with a couple of those guys, right? You've worked with Marcel and
Mike Sanford.
Right?
Yeah.
That make it, I don't know, stranger or weird at all? Or did you reach out to those guys at all and say, hey, what are you doing? Or?
No, I mean, I get along with Mike and Marcel fine. And when you work together, hey, guys, people disagree. I mean, this is the real world. I mean, they can say I'm full of crap and say it. And that's fine. And we all move on the next day. I mean, we had a player, Derek Mason, and the head coach at Vanderbilt is one of my closest friends in the profession. We were connected at the hip for 2 years at Stanford. We had a guy decommit in the last week of recruiting and go to Vanderbilt. I saw Derek at a head coach's meeting. We dog-cussed each other for 3 minutes, and it was over. And, I expressed my opinion. He expressed his, and it's done. I like Marcel and Mike Jr. very much. Mike Jr.'s at no shortage of opinions, and neither am I. So I mean, it is what it is. It's the nature of what we do. And look, we're in a competitive business, and when you compete, even against friends, it's competition.
Those 2 guys working with them, what did you learn about Mike and Marcel?
Mike's endless amounts of energy, great recruiter. To the point sometimes where when we were at Stanford and he had just arrived, it was like, cuz you better bring it back a little bit or you're not going to make it through the year. I mean, Marcel, another really polished recruiter, I thought, and really enjoyed his way with the players. I got to work with both of them in the senses I was the special teams coordinator at both places, and they would work with me in the kicking game, and really enjoyed working with both guys. And every time they were involved with something we were doing in the kicking game, they were always great and energetic and really good teachers. So, it's interesting when you're competing against somebody in your league. They hired 2 coordinators, and both of them really well.